Still in the U.S., Republican presidential hopefuls have shared a stage for the first time in the 2024 White House race at an Iowa campaign event. Chief rivals Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis headlined the Republican Party's annual Lincoln Dinner fundraiser. All 13 candidates were given 10 minutes to speak during the event. Polls show Mr. Trump holds a lead over his rivals, even as his legal woes mount. He told attendees that he was the only candidate who can win next year's election and suggested this was the only reason he faces a raft of criminal and civil charges. Mr. Trump has already insisted he will still run for the White House even if he is convicted. Friday's fundraiser comes a day after new charges were filed against Mr. Trump over his alleged mishandling of classified files. Federal prosecutors have widened their criminal investigation into the former president over his handling of government documents after leaving office, but he remains the frontrunner for the Republican nomination. According to a 538 opinion poll average, Mr. Trump is on 52.4%, Florida Governor DeSantis on 15.5%, and everyone else is under 10% in the Republican race.
We will say no on 87,000 IRS agents who want to take your money, and much worse than that, they want to weaponize the IRS just like they've weaponized the Justice Department and the FBI. And by the way, if I weren't running, I would have nobody coming after me. Or if I was losing by a lot, I would have nobody coming after me. They wouldn't be coming after me. I immediately cancel every single open borders policy of the Biden administration and stop the invasion of criminals in many cases coming into our country. I had the safest border in the history of our country, and we will do it again, and we'll get it done very quickly.
Are you ready to send Joe Biden back to his basement in Delaware on a permanent vacation? I can promise you this, in my White House, there will be no cocaine allowed in the White House. I'm proud to be the only candidate running for president on either side of the aisle this year that's actually served in a war. I served in Iraq as a naval officer alongside Navy SEALs in Fallujah and Ramadi.
And I understand the temptation to cling to what is familiar over leadership fitted to the times, but I believe we must resist the politics of personality and the siren song of populism unmoored to conservative values, because different times calls for different leadership. To defeat Joe Biden, I believe we must give the American people new Republican leadership, leadership with a proven commitment to the conservative agenda.
We lost the House in 2018. We lost the White House and the Senate in 2020. A red wave didn't materialize in 2022 when it should. We all know how bad Joe Biden's numbers are. He can be beat. This can be an opportunity to have conservative leadership for 16 years. I'm not talking about winning one election. I'm talking about a generation of this.
For more on the rumblings in the GOP ahead of the 2024 presidential election, global affairs analyst Kunle Falowo joins me from Indianapolis. Thank you very much for joining us at this point. Looking at the race to the White House and the campaigns, of course, I'm sure you just heard the presidential candidates of the presidential hopefuls, rather, of the party there. You heard them at the Iowa campaign event, Trump, DeSantis, amongst others. Looking at Trump's court cases, the charges leveled against him, how is this going to play out at the elections?
Thanks for having me. So this is a very democracy, and particularly in the history of the Republican National Party. And what we're seeing is a polarization and further Republican Party, you would see that Republicans are generally very divided against the House. There are so many sectors and so many parts of the Republican Party that owe allegiance to different. Now, in this race, we're looking at Congressman Tim Scott, uh, Nikki Haley, even former Vice President Mike Pence is also throwing his hat in the battle to clinch the ticket for the presidential nomination for the Republican Party. So, certainly back to President Trump, it seems to be having its popularity rise steadily with the number of court cases and allegations.
You're watching The World Now on TVC News. We move back to our recent story on the Trump and DeSantis U.S. Republican presidential hopefuls sharing the same stage for the first time in the 2024 White House race at Iowa campaign. And we have joining us Kunle Falowo, is a global affairs analyst. And of course, we're going to be talking about this. Thank you very much. Now, looking at the run towards the elections, Trump's court issues, a lot of people think might be a problem if he is eventually chosen as the presidential candidate of the Republican Party. What's your take?
Well, for the Republican National Congress and party members generally, what we're seeing now is a further polarization of the polity, and also there seems to be a division in between the Republican Party itself, because we're seeing allegiance from different parts of the party. We're seeing people that are, supporting Ron DeSantis. We're looking at some members that are really deeply affiliated with former President Trump, and also Mike Pence, former Vice President to Trump, and Congressman Tim Scott has also thrown his weight, and as a stated their intention to contest for that presidential ticket for the Republican Party. Having said that, particularly for former President Trump, he seems to have a vendetta against a lot of people this time, and he's so hell-bent on clinching that ticket. It must be also said that he is perceived as the favorite among the contenders to clinch the presidential ticket of the Republic. For the party itself, it's like I said before, it's divided, and be rest assured that not all the Republican members are in full support of former President Trump, partly because of his legal woes right now and his complications and all his baggages as far as the court cases are concerned. But a sizable amount of people are also very supportive of President Trump, or former President Trump. And I will also mention that it's so interesting that each time that there's an increase in the number of court cases that he's trying to avoid, he seems to get a lot more popular among his base, and also he gets more money in donations. So Mr. Trump, as a businessman as he is steadily making money for himself and all in his campaign coffers, and he's favorite among the Republicans. But it remains to be seen if the entire Republican members would eventually just go ahead and let him have the presidential nomination ticket.
Well, looking at the candidates, we of course see that apart from DeSantis, we see Mike Pence, who was a former vice president under Donald Trump. Back then, you know how Donald Trump is when the campaign heat hots up and all of that. How do you think all of this will play out?
It's just going to be a replay of the playbook of what Mr. Trump always does. He picks on people, insults them in public, which the people, generally the people kind of enjoy, especially his fan base. They enjoy to see that celebrity status of President Trump or former President Trump. He is and dared the heart of a lot of Republican parties that felt like the Democrats are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. There are so many hardliners who are in support of President Trump, and he's a showman. And let's not forget that. And he's been, he knows the rhetoric, what sinks with the people. So, in his typical playbook, Mr. Trump will continue to do what he does best, to ignite his fan base, to continue to get support from them. So we're not going to see anything different from what's in the playbook that's been working for Mr. Trump, which is insulting a lot of people, calling people names, and promising to do this and that, and to go extreme, which is part of some things that's happening, the polarization of the political system, and just the further polarization of it.
All right.
Is kind of odd, but unfortunately, it's working for him.
All right, Kolifalo, this is a very important discussion, but for want of time, we'll have to end it here at this point. Thank you very much for talking to us, Global Affairs Analyst Kolifalo, for discussion.